The euphoria is over, the dust is settling in, but the jury is still out. Did the finance minister deliver a breakthrough union budget 2012, or was it just an accountant's budget? The stock market seemed to like it. Industry, as always, is measured in its response and positive, but there's one group which will say as it has to be said and dissect it as it has to be. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to this special post-budget analysis, the B-School style. I'm here at the SJM School of Management, IIT Bombay, and of course I've got the other three top management schools from Mumbai, students from there as well, Jamnalal Bajaj, SP Jain and Narsi Monji. They will throw the questions to our very eminent panel here, Ajay Srinivasan, Chief Executive, Aditya Birla Group, and Kewal Handa, Managing Director of Pfizer India. But let's set the ball rolling. I will go to the students in just a minute. Let me first get the reactions from Ajay. Ajay, 2 hits, 2 misses of this union budget.
Well, if I were to talk of the hits first, Manisha, I think the first I would talk about would be the stability in tax rates overall. And I think that's a good thing. We don't want tax rates to vary from year to year while broadening the base for tax. I think that's a good step forward. It's in keeping with the general direction that the government wants to do. I think that's a good move. I think the second move I talk about would be the overall emphasis on expenditure control while having some focused areas of spending. So you've seen infrastructure and social spending clearly getting focus, but overall there's some control on expenditure. You know, as you say, whether you believe it or not, that's a separate issue. But that's the way the budget is presented, which has led to a good number of 4.6% for fiscal deficit and the 3.43 lakh crores of government borrowing, all of which has really created this euphoria in the market because the market is expecting much worse than that. So I would say those are the 2 strong points. If I could add a third, I would talk about the direct cash transfer for subsidy. I think that's a major move. It's keeping with the finance minister's opening remarks, talking about governance and the efficiency of institutions being important to him. So I would say those 3 are big positives for me. If I were to look at negatives, I'd pick 2. I'd pick 1, the fact that although supply side was referred to several times in terms of dealing with inflation, especially food inflation, I think the amounts that have been actually set aside seem to be fairly small, and some of the things that are being talked about will take a fairly long time to have an impact on the supply side. So I think the supply side on agriculture, especially, I'm not sure enough has been done. Second, I think if you look at the current account deficit, we're running a fairly large current account deficit today in the country, and therefore the quality of inflows to fund that deficit are obviously important. In that context, I think the emphasis and the mention of FDI seem to be fairly low in the overall context of the budget. I mean, there was a lot of expectation of a bit more liberalization on the FDI side, which clearly wasn't seen. So that would be my quick analysis.
All right, very quick analysis. Kewal, did you give passing marks to the finance minister? Everybody seems to like it, or at least has been positive at the face of it.
I think he was very positive when he presented the budget. He said all the good things that we want to hear. And so I'll give him good marks on that. Well said. Let's do it now. I think there are very positive features in the budget, and if you look at what he talked about FDI, it's a coalition government. He has to take everybody along with him, and particularly the BJP, which he'll have a problem in Rajya Sabha. But he said that he wants to introduce FDI. That's, and he will have a discussion with the opposition parties. Well said. He also talked about, agriculture in a big way for the first time. The focus has been is how to really revive agriculture. Particularly in process industries he's talking about. Particularly he's talking about bottlenecks in leakages and what to do about that. I think that's a very, very positive feature of the budget. 2 things which he missed out is the Aam Aadmi. I'm an Aam Aadmi, you are an Aam Aadmi. The rich guys are beyond our imagination nowadays.
Kewal is an Aam Aadmi. Yeah. Come on.
What do you see nowadays happening? I'm an Aam Aadmi. He's missed out Aam Aadmi. And why I'm saying he's missed out Aam Aadmi, there's nothing for the Aam Aadmi today. He has been reeling under the pressure of inflation for the last 2 years, and he's just not got any relief. He could have done a lot for Aam Aadmi. And there's nothing that talks about Aam Aadmi.
So he's not tackled prices at all?
At all. Inflation,
he just has a target of 5%.
It's a target of 5%. Well said, I said. Well, do it also. I mean, it's well said. But nothing for the Aam Aadmi. 160 to 180, what does it reflect? Nothing, peanuts.
So there you go.
The second one is for the youth. I'm associated with youth. I teach in colleges and associated with IIM. 50% of our population is young population, below 25 years. What a world for the youth. The India of the future, where is it in the budget? There is no India of the future in the budget.
Well, India of the future is
right
in front of us.
But not in the budget. And that disappoints me a lot. We'll elaborate what's India of the future and what's for the youth in the budget and what he should be doing it in the budget for the youth.
So let's start with you, India of the future, and let's give our host college the first question. SJM, School of Management, IIT Bombay.
Hello, I am Vikas Maskeri from Shailesh Mehta School of Management. My question is about direct cash transfer. It is a very good move that we are giving direct cash transfer on subsidies for people below poverty line. But the major issue, I think, was missed out in the budget is how will we implement it? Even though we can implement it using technology like smart cards, but even they are partially successful in other countries. So how will we implement it and make it successful in our country?
Ajay, you should have the answers partly because, even today when you go out to sell any financial product, there's just such lack of data available. And it's a bit scary that nobody working for you, such few people working for you have bank accounts. Forget about deep rural India. And we all know it's not been an easy job for Nandan Nilekani to get that data even for his UID project, which is very closely linked to this entire cash transfer thought philosophy.
Yeah. Well, I think it'll have to be built on really a couple of things, and you referred to one of them, which is the UID. I think the UID allows at least the ability to understand who the customer is and therefore make it easy to identify the person you're sending it to. But the second thing that will be required is the entire banking network. Because like Manisha was saying, if more people in India have mobile phones than banks, then how do you reach people who don't have a bank account? So that will be a bit of a challenge. But even if you have a bank account, making sure that the transfers work seamlessly as required. So I don't think it's going to be an easy implementation. I think we have to acknowledge and laud the government for thinking through this because there's a lot of leakage in the system typically. So I think the thinking is in the right direction. Like with many things in India, we'll make some mistakes, we learn from it, but ultimately I think this is the right direction to move in.
It will stop leakages, and that's been the biggest concern. Such a minuscule part of the country pays taxes. We are happy to pay an education cess. We are happy to pay any cess as long as it reaches the poor. So leakages and stopping it was a very, very big concern, and I think this has been one of the breakthroughs in this budget for sure. Jamnalal Bajaj.
Hello, I am Harshul Sabla. My question is with reference to the amnesty scheme for black money. Don't you think it was anticipated that the finance minister would launch the scheme? Don't you think that the finance minister has not taken bold measure with reference to getting the black money back into the country?
Corruption, very big issue, and everybody was expecting maybe a VDIS. He's come out with a 5-pronged approach, but it's just an approach. Again, well-intentioned, how actionable?
But I think we should never come with VDIs. Pale to chori karo, fir maaf karo. Never do that.
Right.
That's a bad principle. And it has never succeeded in last 3 occasions. He has done a right thing. He want to put the system in place. He want to put the governance in place. But more important is he should have extended that to his own ministries. He should have extended that to his own bureaucrats. He should have extended that to the politicians. And if you do that, I think that it makes quite meaningful.
Ajay, my big concern, and I think we've been tackling this again and again, real estate is one sector where corruption and black money circulation is so well known across the country. We don't have a real estate regulator in this country. Why not? Is it because the politicians are so closely linked to real estate?
I don't know the reason, and I think you can surmise a number of things, but I think, like you say, real estate is one sector that's really crying for a regulator. And I think a regulator that can really deal with a number of issues that sector is facing. But if I could just add to what Kewal said, I think the issue is really with the messaging in terms of the VDIS scheme, because on one hand the government is making a fair amount of effort and at least talking about a number of things to actually rein in black money. In the same breath, and that's just started fairly recently, in the same breath to then kind of offer a VDIS scheme sounds like you've given up too soon. So I think it's a bit of messaging that's gone out as well.
We associated Dr. Manmohan Singh with absolute personal integrity. So the number of corruption and scams which have made headlines this year Has that shaken your faith in this government at all, or do you think it's just part of the Indian society and fabric and we got to live with it? Anybody?
I'm happy that all these corruption scandals have actually come out, because I believe corruption was an integral part of Indian society, and the fact that these things have come out in light this year shows that things are changing. People can't get away with anything that they do. So I believe the government is actually doing well, and it is not a negative thing that corruption scandals are coming out.
All right, do you also agree that if there's a bribe taker, the bribe giver is also equally at fault, and we together have to stop doing that? We have to say no. We have to agree to stand in queues and get our licenses rather than jumping the queue. All right.
You know, the spectrum fraud, or whatever you call it, is really a game changer for this country. I look at it very positively. Now, next time any minister wants to put his pen on the paper, he will think twice. You have the power of the RTI now. This was possible a few years back. Now we have become more aware. The media has become more aware. Now it's going to be very difficult as you go forward for anybody to approve anything on paper. And I think this is going to be the game changer for the country.
So it's not always bad when corruption makes headlines, because it gets everyone to sit up and demand that something be done. The finance minister in his budget has come out with a 5-pronged approach, which is a well-intentioned approach to say we will tackle it. We come back to analyze the budget a little bit more and also understand where is that fiscal deficit number of 4.6% coming from. You keep watching this special session. Ajay, Srinivasan, Kewal, Handa and 4 top B schools of Mumbai. We are all sitting here in this post-budget special session to analyze what did Pranab Babu really give to the nation this year. We're going to take our next question from Kewal Handa's alumni school, Narsi Munji.
Hi, I'm Himanshu from Nasi Munji, and my question is, with the oil subsidies being decreased from 38,000 crores to 23,000 crores, and with the crude oil prices shooting up, so is the government trying to pass it on to the consumers? And if that is the case, how are they planning to tame inflation?
I think you said Aam Aadmi ke liye kuch bhi nahi kiya, and that's his question. You know, with oil prices shooting up, how will that number come on deficit, and how will inflation be controlled?
Absolutely. There are 2 questions you are asking actually. You're asking one question on inflation and the other one on the deficit, and it's what it's going to be, Pranab's target of 4.6. Now, this year he said deficit is going to be 5.1. Don't forget, he has a spectrum income of 100,000 crores, and that's how it is 5.1. If it is not there, it goes beyond 6. Now, it's the call is between, to bring it down from 6 to 4.6. It's a big task. Now, what he has up his sleeves, I don't know, but what he has on the budget paper is 40,000